What's going on? It's the Week 6 Mike and Rico show. I just got off the road. Mike, I know you've had a long Sunday. Fantasy football has sucked for the both of us, but we're going to go ahead and get into some college football recap. We've had a full day to kind of digest all the craziness that happened. I know we were watching these games last night. We're going to get into the Miami debacle. Crazy, never seen anything like that before. Just quick thoughts before we start rolling into this top 25 action. Quick thoughts on Week 6 and kind of where we stand now, almost halfway through the season.
Really fun weekend. Just to watch kind of, you know, there's a few teams in there I think we're kind of getting a feel for. Like we know like these teams are good, but are they elite? We don't know that yet. But there's some teams that I feel like we know, coming off this weekend, a lot of big wins, but there's also some surprises that, the outcome didn't finish how I thought it'd be, but I think certainly our top five is going to change just on what we saw this
Yep.
weekend. But I think
Yes,
overall,
yes.
I think the cream is starting to rise to the top of some of these teams that are consistent with who they are, both good and bad. And I think you're really starting to get a feel now. Now you get into the seriousness of statement, games coming up, really serious conference games, and then just more consistency. And I think it was just a fun weekend. I mean, the Oklahoma Texas game, I think, just signified what college football is when you watch that
Mm,
game.
yeah.
Alabama, Texas A&M, same thing. Just such great football. That's why college football is the greatest. I mean, there's so much range of emotions. We'll get into the range of emotions of one that we couldn't believe when late that night, but
My
overall,
goodness.
I think it was just unbelievable. Just that's why we watch it. I think that's why we love college football so much because there's so much. Invested as far as emotion when you watch it because it's a range of emotions when you watch it. But I thought it was just a really good weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna hop right back, or we're gonna hop right into it here and just get going. Number one team in the country, Georgia, taking on Kentucky here. Now, right off the bat, we had some questions about Georgia's passing offense, and they wasted no time here. I mean, they really got the pass game going here. And these were the questions that we had coming into this game. And one of the
hmm
reasons why we question Georgia just in general is, can they throw the pill? If they have to really move the ball in the air, can they do it? And I
Right.
think they answered the question this Saturday. I mean, as we're watching, we'll speed through some of this here. We know they've got suffocating defense. We know they can stop anybody. Kentucky just couldn't get anything going. Georgia was knocking the hell out of them all day long. But I got to say, I was extremely impressed with this Georgia ball club. Their secondary, I mean, look at well, that's a great catch right there. Actually, no, he didn't catch it. That's a great
Yeah.
finish by the DB. But we've really questioned their ability to throw in the air, and they answered the questions. Georgia, what kind of receivers do you have? What's your receiving core like? We know about your tight end. We know he's all world. We know he's going to be a top draft pick. He's the best thing since sliced bread, right? But do you guys have downfield targets that can really stretch the field and open it up if you need to? And I think they answered the question this week.
Yeah, I think what they did is they carried off what they did in the Auburn game in that second half. If you watch it, they were really aggressive. We kind of complained about, their slow starts every game. They're kind of trying to pound the ball, and I think this one they just wanted to send a message where it's like they can show how aggressive they are. And I think I said it last week. I thought Carson Beck grew up a lot in that game because I think that helped him have a lot of confidence going in this where you can throw the ball. And I think they really wanted to come out there and say, you know what? They do have a good front four, but we feel like we really got some advantages when we passed the ball. And they were really aggressive. They stayed on them. They
Look at
just kept
that.
it. They just kept attacking. And as good as Kentucky is against the
Oh, he's
run,
in.
yep, that's in.
That's in. That's a tutty.
As good as they are against the run, I told Rico this before. It's like if whoever gets behind, it's going to be trouble, especially for Kentucky because their team is built off the run game. And so I knew once they got a 14-0 lead, they were in big trouble. And Georgia just didn't let up. And it's a great statement of what they can be. Now we'll see if they're consistent like that from week to week. But I think this was certainly a
Mm.
game. I think they wanted to prove themselves that hey, we're that good. What's up? Yeah, we're still up there as one of the top teams in the country, and I think they showed that for most of the game.
Now, Kentucky tried to fight back a little bit. They got it to 21-7 here, and you're kind of looking around to see if, okay, maybe they can make a game out of this. But Georgia just did not waste any time just answering right back. That offense was just moving the ball at will all day long. And I was just extremely impressed with Carson Beck in the air. Look at these wide open. Look at this schemed wide open. And you've got this joker just running free like a wild moose. I mean, I was really impressed with Georgia, to be honest. Really impressed with them. Special teams got working, banging a field goal here. And, the defense just kind of suffocated them all day as we go through this. I mean, more field goal action here, just banging another one through. I mean, it's 34-7 at halftime, and they never looked back. I mean, they just really came through and just knocked the dust off of Kentucky. And we've talked about this. The SEC East, man, I don't want to be – I mean, Kentucky scores here 34-14. Get a little bit of life, but the SEC East, they're still better than a lot of divisions in the Power Five, but it's just such a far cry from the SEC West. And Georgia's elite. Georgia's a playoff team. I truly believe that. I know some Georgia fans question whether or not they are. Georgia fans, Georgia's fine. They're a top 4 team, and it will come down to a home game in Atlanta in the SEC championship. And if they win it, they'll be in. I feel strongly about them. They're a top 4 team. Are they number 1 team? We'll get to that later. But they're definitely a top 4 team.
Yeah.
I don't see – and there's nobody in that SEC East, Mike. There's nobody in the SEC East that can compete with this team. There's no other elite team. There's no other even really good team in the SEC East. Kentucky is a basketball school. They got their win over Florida. They feel good. They pounded their chest. They did their thing, right? Stoops is good for another year. That's a basketball school. They can't compete for 60 minutes on this stage with real quality football teams, let alone elite. And Georgia's just not going to get tested all year.
Yeah, I felt good about the Georgia program, and I said this last week about when I saw Carson Beck and what he did in that second half. Once I saw them trust him, I'm like, okay, this is going to be different. They can carry this over to the next week. And so I think they showed that. Now, there's going to be tougher competition that are tougher against the pass with pass defense, but I think overall, on paper, Georgia looks better than any other team. Now, the key is going to be we're going to see this consistency every week with Georgia and how they attack people. We'll see. But certainly this is a good first step for them. They're going to have to stay on it because they have to stay away from these slow starts.
Nice ball, Vandergriff. Nice ball. This Vandergriff kid, he's got some wheels. I like him. He's got a little spunk. He reminds me of the kid from the last couple of years. I like that Vandergriff kid. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. He can rip it. And for me, it's just consistency of seeing this the way they attack. If they attack this way, Georgia's going to be in the top 2 every top 5 people that do it, and they're probably not going to lose if they're this aggressive. But if we see some kind of conservative stuff as far as what we saw in the beginning part of the year, then we're going to be back to the conversations we've been having the last few weeks. But I think if they do what we saw this weekend, I think they're certainly going to be the representative from the East and in that SEC title game. That's just for me. I want to see them do this on multiple games because this is the first time we've seen them look like this the whole year. So I want to see them like this every game. If they do that, I think they're definitely likely going to be in the playoff, and then I think they're going to be in the SEC title game. So I think it was a big message for them to kind of see where they're at, and I think they came in that game, and Kirby probably challenged these guys and said, "Hey, what y'all got? What do y'all want? What do y'all want to do? Y'all want to work, or y'all want to go out there and make a statement, or what?" And so I think they went out there and make a statement, and I think they said, "Look, we realize there's other teams out there that are good. We're still the champ, and we gotta play aggressive if we're gonna go where we want to go. We got to play aggressive." And I think that's what they did with this game. So really good win for them.
Absolutely. Georgia looked dominant. I think they've reestablished themselves as a top 2, if not number 1 team in the country. Moving on now, we're going to go to a team that many people think is the best team in the country, and that's the Michigan Wolverines. So right off the bat here, we've got a pick 6. We've got Will Johnson going the other way. And Michigan didn't waste any time. They went right on the road. They came off of a 45 to 7? I think it was 45-7 win they had last week against Nebraska. On the road again, the Big Ten, big hit. But Michigan's been able to get out of the starting blocks quickly on these teams.
Yeah.
And I know you've been impressed with them for weeks. The question is always, does Michigan have the team? Do they have the athletes? Do they have the depth to bang with the best in the SEC? And that's always the question, because a lot of people are skeptical as to whether or not they can actually do that. I think this Michigan team, for the first time in a long time, has the tools, personally. And I'm pretty hard on Michigan. I followed them for a long time. And I understand that they've had some rightful criticism as far as athleticism and depth, but I think what they've done with the linebacker position, what they've done in the secondary, the level of athletes that they have and the speed and just the understanding defensively. And then they got guys like this, a legitimate Heisman campaign, Heisman contender here in Blake Corum, and a line that just beat your ass for 60 minutes. This Michigan team, I'm thoroughly impressed with. I think it's the best team in the country, I'll be honest. I think if they play Georgia right now, they win.
Yeah, I think they're unbelievable. I've tried to highlight these guys as much as I could since week 2. What I think of them, I love their. We talk about all these athletes.
Look at this from JJ.
Yeah, great run.
Look at that,
dive.
Finished the run.
Went through the DB to the pylon, perfect. And then, but everyone talks about like their running backs and the receivers they have, and they're all good. But I think one of their biggest advantages is the amount of tight ends that they can throw at you. They're athletic. They're so good. And to me, when I watch this team, I think they have both the offensive line and the defensive line. I think have the best in the country that I've seen. And then 2, I think the whole goal or key with them is like, JJ, are you going to help the team or are you going to hurt the team? And if JJ helps the team, it's going to be really difficult for any team to beat this team. Like they just are. They dominate everybody, and that's not by accident. It's not easy to go out there college football every week.
That's a freshman. That's a freshman, Keon Sapp, second pick 6 of the game.
Yeah, it's not easy to go out there every week and do this. And I'll say this, and I said this last year to Rico, I think this is the best secondary in the country. Like deep-wise, depth-wise, they have everything. I think their front 4 is the best in the country. Now, there's areas that maybe other schools are better than them, but I think as a whole, they're just the complete package as far as what you want. They have the speed. They've added the speed as far as in that secondary. They've really improved it. They've gotten guys that are help them, and they've added to what their strength was, which is really running the ball. And then JJ having a dynamic quarterback and a dynamic arm back there can really change the game. When JJ's on, that team is going to be really hard to beat. Like I'm not sure anybody can, but overall, I think the thing that gets unnoticed is what they do with that back end on defense. I don't think those guys get enough credit in that secondary. They are unreal as far as how good they are. But overall, I don't think anybody in the country is dominating on the field the way they are. I don't care who they play. It is not easy to go out there every week and dominate teams like they have.
No, it's not. And I want to go to what PJ Fleck said here, if I can get there. Let's see. Where are we at here? Let's go and share this just so we can kind of give the viewers an understanding of what the sentiment is.
Mm-hmm. They're as good as advertised. That's. I said this on the radio a second ago. I think they're the best football team I've seen in 11 years of being a head coach. I've never seen a football team like that deep. I'm not sure if this is true, but I was told this walking off the field. I think they traveled 75 people and maybe played like 74 of them. I don't know. I mean, they're one of the deepest teams, one of the best teams, one of the biggest teams, fastest teams, strongest teams, and they do not make mistakes. They are truly like a boa constrictor, and they do not beat themselves. They're very good at each position. They're very aligned with everything that they do. They know who they are, and they go and execute that game plan. So, I mean, there were times they did it at will tonight. So, number one falls on me, 100%. They're a really good football team, though, so you can't take that away from them. We got beat tonight, period. Okay, we didn't lose the game. They beat us, period, in every facet of the game, every aspect of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. You can't win games by giving them 2 pick sixes. We were off schedule. I said that the main.
Yeah, so you get the idea there.
Yeah.
I think people have to understand in the Big Ten, it's really hard to win on the road, as is any conference, but especially in the Big Ten.
Yep.
A lot of pride. Minnesota prides themselves on playing very well at home, and so does Nebraska. Last 2 weeks, we kind of questioned Michigan. I know we questioned it. We talked about it, and we saw some sloppy starts when Harbaugh had the 3-game suspension, which was absolute bullshit over a cheeseburger, whatever. Michigan decided to sit him down for 3 games, and he made a mockery of it, making the janitor the coach for the first half of every game. Yeah, I mean, I'm joking, but that's kind of what it seemed like. So we wanted to see what Michigan looked like when they got out of the friendly confines of the Big House. So they go into Lincoln, Nebraska, pow, 45-7. Nebraska makes a quarterback change 2 weeks before. They win 2 games in a row. They're looking like the change, and they really got up for that game. And Michigan absolutely destroyed them. They didn't score till late in the fourth. We're like, whoa, okay, this Michigan team is different. That's when I was kind of like, okay, maybe the hype is real. But then they go into this Minnesota game, and Minnesota is a really tough place to play. Night game, they're hyped up. It's the Super Bowl for Minnesota. And Michigan comes in there and absolutely blows the doors off them 52-10. So if you add those two up, if my math's correct, that's 97-17 in 2 Big Ten road games. They're, to me, the number 1 team in the country. Spoiler alert. I just don't. When you go into someone else's building and you blow the doors off them like that 2 weeks in a row, and you're playing 70-something kids, holy crap, man. This is the best football team in the country.
Yeah, and that's why I've said from my thing, if you look at the one common denominator that you mentioned in those 2 games, who's the main common denominator? J.J. McCarthy. Going out there, JJ's doing all the right things, not throwing picks, not throwing stupid interceptions, getting them in the flow of what they're doing, and then just letting your playmakers make plays, and they do it all the time. And while it's not easy to win on the road, it's definitely not easy to get pick sixes and the big defensive plays that they get every single week. Like, there's nobody that's doing what they're doing. And I don't care. Nobody's playing a great team every week except for maybe LSU. But outside of that, most teams are playing some of the similar teams to what Michigan does, but nobody's doing what they're doing. And you're dominating somebody, you're dominating. I don't care if it's, and when you go on the road, that was kind of what we were looking for. It's like, okay, you guys are going to have the same intensity when you're on the road. And it's like, they're actually better on the road. Yeah, because there's less, I think there's even more focus when they go on the road and they're locked in. And these guys aren't going to be bothered by some loud crowd or any of that stuff. And it's like they're going to execute what they do. And they're going to be a really tough team to beat. And I 100% agree. Obviously, I'm going to agree with you because I've been saying it since damn week 2. So obviously, I think they're the best team in the country. And there's a lot of people that jumped on board the bandwagon after that. But I've really thought this is the number 1 team when I watched them the second week of the season, because I look at line of scrimmage, dynamic playmaker at quarterback, and what your team looks like from a grand scheme of things of how it fits. And I think they check off all the boxes you want.
Yeah, they do. Now we're going to move on. Michigan and Georgia, to me, in that order, are the top 2 teams, spoiler alert, in the country. I think there's some separation after that now, especially after this week. But let's jump into the game of the day and just an absolute treat for college football. I hate it for Texas. Texas is a Final Four team for me. I had going into the season. I hate watching how this game played out, but it was quite the watch. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah, so I watched this whole game, guys. So Rico was going to the Florida State game. I was chilling, watching this from a home, and then I eventually went over to Florida State. But this was an unbelievable game.
Unbelievable game.
Dylan Gabriel was absolutely sensational. And everyone kind of made fun of FSU last year when they were kind of like, oh, y'all are playing Oklahoma in the bowl game. Well, this is a very similar team. This is a very similar team to what they had last year. And if you remember,
let me jump in too, Mike, while you're getting into this. Okay. For people that are not super familiar with how college football works, or just wondering, the bowl game for big programs that take bowl games serious, which Florida State certainly does, and I'm sure Oklahoma does too.
Yeah.
The bowl game is the start of the next season. And anybody who's played can vouch that. I mean, you can vouch for that. The bowl game is the start of the next season because it's closer to spring ball of the upcoming season than it is fall when you started back there. This is like a prelude to what you're going to do the following season. And Oklahoma took that game serious. So did FSU. That was a big time matchup that we ended up being victorious over them. But that Oklahoma team didn't suck.
No, and it was. I mean, if you go back to their schedules, what I was saying, 5 or 6 of their losses were all by one possession games, like 3, 4, 2. Like they're all close. They were losing, but obviously they got more comfortable with the defense. We saw that this year with Oklahoma with Coach Venables. I know what he does. I met the man. The guy is incredible. He's certainly improved their defense, and he's changing Oklahoma. Yeah, they're going to give up points because one, Texas is great, but they're making it much harder for you to score on them now, and that's a great team. I said that when FSU beat them. That was a great team, but yeah, everyone takes these things seriously. But as far as this game, this is just two like heavyweight just champions knocking it out. Like, yeah, I think Texas will look back in this game and like, yeah, those early turnovers really hurt us with Ewers, 3 of them. But overall, they just kept grinding, kept fighting back, and finally pulled their way back in it, got the lead, and then Oklahoma came right back. It was kind of like it was so many waves of momentum where you felt like, okay, Texas is about to take over, and then it's Oklahoma's about to take over. It always stayed at that one possession area, and then it's just a great finish and a great game. I mean, you can see all these points. It's like back and forth. You see the score up there, guys. Every time it's like it's one possession. I think it's the best game I've seen all year. Like this is probably the best game I've seen. Just
look at this.
the hitting, the pageantry, the atmosphere in Dallas was phenomenal. I don't think you can find anything to complain about. And then the finish was just unbelievable. You didn't see that coming. The goal line stand. Last minute field goal. Then you had last minute touchdown. I think it had a little bit of everything. That's why I say it's the best game I've seen all year.
Yeah, I think this game here, it really shows kind of the contrast. I mean, we were talking about this. The SEC, the Big Ten, 2 best conferences in football, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion. There's a fumble there by Ewers. Absolutely killed him. Ewers has played really well this year. He had some really costly turnovers here. They're down 10 here, mid-third. This is where this game really got scary for Texas, and they really had to try to come back. They bang a field goal here, and they're able to come back, get into it. But the Big 12, it's one of those games where if you don't have a dog in the fight, you sit there with a six-pack and you just kick back and you watch it, you're going to be entertained because you're going to see the wildest stuff you've ever seen. I mean, look at these scores and these plays. I mean, it's just wild ball. And it's really well executed game plans, really. I mean, this is just wild and crazy football, Wild West, and it's just super entertaining. And I don't know if the country really respects what they see. This game is always like this. Look at this TD run right there.
It is.
I'll get to that sideline. Tie ball game. Look at this. 6-10 going to the fourth. Look at the entertainment value. Look at this venue. Look at this crowd. Now here, Texas goes up 3. Mike, what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking they got it because I'm like Texas's defense is really good, and they haven't moved the ball much in this fourth quarter. And then Gabriel just put on his Superman cape and just got the big touchdown.
Look at this emotion here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Are you kidding me?
And
that's what my goodness.
That's why we love college football right there. That play, just a clutch play. Your heart breaks for Texas, but at the same time, and it still wasn't over. He went down there and had a Hail Mary with a chance to, throw it in the end zone. And nearly somebody goes up. I thought they did a poor job of the receivers going up for the ball. I think everyone just stood around, but Ewers gave them a chance, and that's all you ask for in those kind of situations. But just a phenomenal game. I don't think either team has anything to be ashamed of. Sure, Texas doesn't make those mistakes, they probably win, but that's football. That's the way it goes.
Get it out of there. Great job, DB, swatting that down. That's what you do there in that situation.
Don't try to catch it. Don't tip
it up. Don't boop it up in the air. Don't do any of that goofiness. ball game. Number 3 Texas goes down. I had them as my number 1.
Yeah.
Because I was extremely impressed with them. Probably would have kept them there. I was worried about this game for them, and my worries came to fruition. Nobody was talking about Oklahoma. They will be talking about them now because they're going to shoot way up to number 4 or 5 in the AP. But yeah, nobody talked about Oklahoma, and I was a little worried, man. They were kind of just like the groomsmen at the wedding there, and they were there to play, and historically they've dominated this matchup, and I think that was just ignored. I think they got disrespected, and I think Oklahoma reminded the country, like, hey, we're still here, and we ain't going anywhere. Great win for Venerables, great win for Oklahoma. And I just feel bad for Texas, and I hate it, but it's just the way that rivalry has kind of gone for them as of late. And, rough day to be a Longhorn.
Yeah, and a footnote that game, guys. That morning when Rico woke up, we got up. Rico told me, he's like, we're watching game day, and Rico's like, man, they're just really disrespecting these guys. They're not even talking about Oklahoma. They're just like, Texas, Texas, Texas. So he kind of saw that disrespect. And that's the way I thought when I was watching the games. Like, these guys are playing hard, dude. They want this game. And they went out there. They had a chip on their shoulder, and they got it done.
They did. Now, moving on here, we've got the Buckeyes. This was my upset call.
Yeah, it was.
Look at this grab right here. I was very, very confident about this upset here. I thought Maryland would come in. I thought they would get up early, and I thought they would be too much offensively. Maryland came in, did the job of getting up early, but I was very impressed, honestly, with the Buckeyes' ability to weather the storm and come back and take control of this ball game, because Maryland really looked like they were going to step on them. I think here's the swing right here. 3rd down, 5. Tulia, you can't do that. You can't. That's the game right there. That's the game right there. Ohio State's offense was struggling. You cannot give them points right there. And if you're going to beat the Buckeyes, this Buckeyes team, their defense is better. They're better. They're better on the back end. They're definitely better on the front end. And you're not going to be able to get away with some of that stuff. And they've got a guy right here that is going to probably be a top 3 pick for a reason.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, it's like we've said this for a few of the games already. These teams that are going to try to pull the upsets, you can't turn the ball over. Saw that with Clemson when they played Florida State. We saw that with, just this game, and then we saw it with the Texas game. Not as much upset, but a big game. You can't have turnovers, and they just had too many turnovers, and they fought hard, came back, got up 17-10, but I think they had so many mistakes that they just could never consistently keep that flow of momentum going, and then Ohio State just kept jumping on them.
I don't understand how this happens. These busted coverages for the Buckeyes or for the Terps here. Brian Day is one of the best play callers in the country, and then you just don't have the edge here at all.
Nobody there.
Travion didn't play, but they've got Mayan Williams, Tram. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's damn good. And now we're just running all over the place.
And here's another pick to him. And it's just that stuff kills you. Like you can't get in the flow when you're making picks. And I think once that pick happened, I text Rico and said, this thing's over. Because it just felt like they had nothing. They just got the wind sucked out of them. And then from here, Ohio State just blasted them.
Yep. They keep pouring it on, and Maryland just ran out of gas. There's been a lot of talk with Mike Loxley talking about that's a hell of a tight end right there.
Stover.
This kid here, Stover is an unbelievable tight end. I mean,
I
don't know what his draft grade is, but it better be damn high. He's an unbelievable tight end.
Yeah, he's right there. I mean, we all know Brock's.
There's your guy.
Yeah,
there's your man,
Marvin
hitting the LeBron.
But we know Brock's the number 1 tight end, but there's definitely a number 2. It's got to be Stover. I mean, that guy has been unbelievable. Unbelievable in the Notre Dame game. Unbelievable in this game. He's been unbelievable every time I've seen him every week. So I think he's one of the best tight ends, and certainly I think the only question about them is is that quarterback play going to hurt them when they play the bigger teams down the road? I think it will, but we'll see. But for now, congratulations to them getting the job done. So that's something they're going to have to, keep executing week by week.
Yep, Buckeyes get a huge win. Buckeyes impressive again. It's a good couple of weeks for them. We're going to see Penn State's coming to town in a couple of weeks, and that's going to be a big one. Moving on, we've got the number 5, now number 4, homegrown, hometown, Florida State. We're going to breeze through this because we're going to do another segment on them at a later date. But let's just jump right into it here.
Deep in their own territory, Benson.
Nice ball here to Johnny. Get the scoring started. Johnny was really a focus for the offense to start this game. They kind of flip-flop, right? It goes like some games are Keon games, some games are Johnny. Sometimes they get them both going. This first quarter was really Johnny.
Yeah. I think Johnny has long been his favorite receiver. Even when Keon coming in there, I think he's worked with Keon, but I think if there's a guy he trusts, it's Johnny on these plays. Like he really feels like I can go to Johnny anytime, and not that he doesn't with Keon, but certainly with him, and then Trey Benson does what he does. So yeah, I think Johnny was the problem early, and then Benson was the one that took him to another level.
Let's do some body surfing here. Lawrence Toafili, is he down? No, he's not. He's body surfing into the end zone. I mean,
he's got some weird touchdowns, huh?
He consistently scores in this manner, just surfing dudes into the end zone. Did it again here. Let's watch this replay. This guy's got some great balance, great run here, great block, steal inside by Washington. And then just go ahead and just body surf your way into the end zone here. Look at this replay.
Yep, just right off of him.
He did this in Clemson a couple years ago. And
he did.
Look at that.
Yeah, great play. Great effort. And they work on this stuff I've seen them when they work on this stuff every day in practice. So this is not something that they don't practice. Like when they're laying on top or they're rolling, they just do this little drill where they're rolling over things to keep themselves above threat.
Here's my dude right here. I mean, a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", 210 should not have this wiggle and this speed. He never went down. I mean, they never got him to the ground. This is a guy, got a chance to spend some time with him and the rest of the team, kind of going back and being with the guys. He is a pro. Keon Coleman, I made the comment when I was talking to you and a couple other people, the game to him is just so easy. It's almost like he gets bored. The sky's the limit for him. In Florida State, if we can keep him grounded, if we can keep him engaged, there's really not a whole lot that he can't do. Again, went to Johnny here, second touchdown of the day. They're getting ready to hit their dance here. Feeling real good. These two, there they go. And they were doing it on the sideline for about a half hour. Really got it rolling. Florida State out the gates here, really looking good. It was a great first quarter, up 22-0. And then second quarter, got a couple bad calls and then some stuff. What a pick right here. I'll tell you what, sideline angle here. This was a phenomenal play. They end up calling roughing the passer here, which I hated for Azari. Yeah. Outstanding play. Kept this drive alive. That drive should have been dead there. That kept that drive alive, and then Virginia Tech just capitalizes. This Drones kid can really move it. Are you concerned with our ability to stop running quarterbacks going forward?
No, not really. They've gone through against so many. I did a really good job on Jaden Daniels. He only got 17 points. FSU held him to the lowest score they've scored all year. I'm more concerned. I'm more concerned with their focus on when they get leads. I've seen this twice now. 31-10 against BC. Now this one, 22-0. I think this is their learning curve of where they go. We've seen it with Michigan. Michigan knows how to finish when it's 23-0, 3 scores, finish them. I think this team is still learning how to do that, and it's part of the growth process. Yeah, and
gotta get rid of the ball there, Jordan.
And just not letting constant back-to-back possessions affect kind of your game. And I think that's really the next step for FSU. But man, when they kick it in, they can play with anybody.
Yeah. This was not the best second quarter here. And I
it was awful. It was pretty awful.
Yeah, they really got a drive going. They had a couple other calls that extended this drive here. And then Vatek made us pay, went out here to the outside, lost the edge. I mean, Fentrell Cypress. I love the motor from Fiske here, but Fentrell Cypress, you cannot get just thrown into the end zone like that. We got to be tougher on the edge. Look at 65, just throws Fentrell, and then we're leaping. And great effort by Fiske, but Virginia Tech did a great job. We thought this game was over. It's going to be a laugher, 22-0, and then Virginia Tech storms back. It's 10 quick ones.
Yep.
Here we go. Jordan getting sacked again. Hate seeing this. Don't want to see him get banged up.
It's just more of getting into a rhythm and staying in a rhythm and then reassessing yourself when things are kind of going against you. That's what they have to learn. But and here's the kickoff, 2 guys fall down, and then the kicker takes
CJ. Get him, CJ.
Zari almost got him, but he couldn't. But just some bad angles. But this is what I like to play after this, because it was like, now it was kind of like, you know what? It's just trouble. One possession, they're losing. They came right back and answered the bell and put it away.
Yeah, special teams I thought was pretty decent all day except for this. You can't lose contain. We overran it. We had some kicks that I thought we lost contain on a couple different times. True adversity here. Championship drive. How do we answer? Well, you give the ball to 3, and then you watch the vapor trail behind them. You should have dove 7 because you had no chance. Trey Benson's off to the races. Yeah,
once his full speed hits, it's lights out. He gets there fast, and I think they just and that was the impressive part. We'll break down the game with FSU in another segment later, but as you see in this game, they've done this consistently all year. When they face adversity, same thing with LSU. They got bound 17-14. They came back, answered the bell, and they did it again this week. Got the job done, and shut Virginia Tech down from there.
Yep, nice ball here. I know you really enjoy seeing this from Destin Hill. We'll get into more of that later, but a great story getting Destin here. And he's going to, due to some roster flux, he's going to have a lot more opportunities coming forward here. I love this segment I love this part of the game right here. I think we end up getting a field goal here, and I think it's really important. Here we go, Fitzgerald trajectory, love it. Quick story on him. Had to change his approach. I think he was working with Graham Gano. He tried to do a 2-step drop, wasn't working. Went back to a 3-step drop. He's a completely different kicker now.
Yep.
Big screen here. Almost went out the gate. Thank God. I mean, thank God he tripped over his lineman, because that one could have went for 6 or a lot longer. See, getting a little bit of the highlights here. I don't want to miss the Hussey show.
Oh yeah.
Let's make sure we don't miss that. Okay. So Virginia Tech here is trying to make a little bit of a run. There we go. Verse gets in there, gets a sack. That was the second of the day. I know you've been waiting to see Jared first and get this pass rush going.
Right.
4th and 22 here. And Fiske almost gets him. Oh, Verse overruns it. And then here we go. Scramble drill. They were getting broke down there. Who was this? Oh, that's Conrad getting broke down. But he's short. FSU turns him over. And then now we've got another vapor trail here.
Look at this.
I mean,
angle.
Gracious.
No thanks. Gone. His speed is ridiculous.
That's big time there. Big time speed. Big time speed there. I want to see if we can get to this hit here. I don't know where.
It's probably around 5-6 minutes, I think.
Okay. Yeah. They're showing this highlight over and over again. Maybe this is it here. No, this guy's running forever here.
No, this is the fumble recovery that he made.
Okay, I don't know if they're going to get the.
We probably won't, but it's like 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, there was some good hitting going on. It looks like we're going to have to skip past it, but
we tried, guys. We tried.
They're hating on Conrad Hussey. Freshman made some huge hits. Overall, FSU played a ton of guys. They ended up getting the win here, 39-17. Great performance overall as far as fighting through a little adversity. Vatek
Right.
did, make this a ball game. Thoughts on Florida State just overall in the national picture real quick before we move on?
Yeah, when they click it in, they're as good as anybody. We've seen that. We saw that in the LSU game where they just completely destroyed them in the second half, put it away in that fourth quarter. Kind of similar thing to this one. The only touchdown they allowed was the kickoff, and then the LSU game, I think they gave up a touchdown with third teamers in there. So I think they're a great team, but I think also they're still in a learning process of how to finish games and how to finish teams. And if they figure that out, yeah, they're going to be a team you probably don't want to see because they have so many dangerous weapons in the way they can attack you. Their defense can be dangerous. So, yeah, definitely a top 5 team. Definitely a team that's going to be, up there all year.
Yep, Knowles get to 139-17. And then we had a wild game here. Arizona at USC. USC was supposed to roll, and they did not. Arizona came out here out the gate. I think they got up 17-0. Yeah, 17-0 here. And then, as is the case in the Ohio State game, you get up big. You cannot make the turnovers and let them off the mat, especially this guy right here because he's a wizard.
He is.
Look at that. This guy, untouched. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable. And USC has that ability to score just lightning quick, and they don't face exactly the world's best defenses.
Look at this throw.
Yeah, this is Mahomes stuff here. This is Pat Mahomes stuff here. I mean, this guy is off the charts good. What are your thoughts overall on USC? Like, where do you see them? How do you see their season going?
I think you have to keep them up there because the offense, they have the most explosive offense in the country. I don't think there's an offense that's better than them, but their defense is so putrid. Like, it is so bad, like really, really, really bad. Lincoln, I know you love scoring, but I think that's what kills them. When you compare them to other teams, that's why I don't have him winning the Pac-12. I have Washington because they just can't stop people. We saw that in the Colorado game. Gave up 41 points. We saw that with just about every team they play. Don't know how you screw that kick up, but you did, and now we go to overtime. But I think very highly of their offense, but it's kind of similar to what I saw last year. Their defense is just so weak that I think that's going to be kind of their downfall down the line.
Yeah, that Pac-12 is going to be an interesting matchup just to see how it pans out. We're in overtime here now. Arizona is trying to answer. They do. You're just kind of seeing the porosity of the USC defense. Now we're in second overtime now. Arizona goes right back in there. Boom, scores again. But you got to go for two. Got to go for 2 here. And he's rolling. And no, sir.
Do it late.
Back-footed. Yep, back-footed. Now here comes Caleb. They actually had them pinned.
Yeah.
Second and long, and then USC just got 20 yards like that. And then here.
You never pin this team. Their offense, they could have 4th and 20.
Oh!
That throw was unreal for people that didn't see it.
Look at this. So Arizona, USC goes first. Got to get a 2-point conversion. And look at this backyard stuff here. You have the angle. What are you doing?
Yep. And he stuck the ball in there. People are like, oh, he went out of bounds. No, he stuck the ball before he went out of bounds. So
I don't know what this was.
Yeah, this was – Rico came and woke me up and said, hey, they're in overtime, man. So we watched the end of this. Kind of deflating the end of what Arizona ran, but a really exciting game as you usually get Pac-12 after dark, and but a really fun game. Yeah. But certainly I think USC's plan when they play people is just outscore everybody. I mean, that's what they're going to do. So that's who they are. So will it work? Probably not, but eventually it'll catch up. But they're a fun as hell team to watch, like really fun.
They are. They're really fun to watch. USC is going to be fun to watch all year. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to collect these wins and not slip up. We're moving on. We got number 10 Notre Dame on the road at Louisville. Now, Louisville is one of the 4 teams to start this season that was favored to win every game. They were one of 4 teams. There were 4 teams. They were one of 4 teams to be favored to win every game. And they have a schedule where if it's a good team, they're more than likely coming to Papa John's. With the exception of Miami, I do think they got to go down there to Hard Rock to play Miami.
They do.
But they've got a really favorable schedule. No Syracuse, no North Carolina, no Clemson, no Florida State. Still in the ACC, not playing those 4. Louisville's very dangerous team, as Notre Dame is about to find out.
Yeah, they are very athletic edge guys. Their defense does give up some really gut yards and gut plays, but they're really good at kind of a bend don't break type of defense, and they showed that in this game. And then I love their quarterback Plummer. He's a great quarterback. I think he's great.
I love Thrasher.
Yeah, Thrasher's good, and their running back's really good. Running back, they really good running back. So it's a fun team. I think they certainly, have caused a lot of problems, and they're having a dream season so far. Undefeated. And if they don't, in my personal opinion, if they don't lose at Miami, it's very feasible that they run the table until they get to the ACC championship.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have a great shot to do so. I think Louisville's always been very talented as far as athletic profile. They get a lot of kids from South Florida, get a lot of Florida kids just in general, and they always have a chip on their shoulder. And I don't know that they have the depth, but they're ones. If they're healthy, they're ones. They can play with you, and they've always got some elite guys on the outside. Notre Dame getting tricky here. Big play in the game, trying to go do some trickeration, right before the half, and it didn't work out. And they just could not block Louisville, and Sam was running for his life. Freeman was beside himself with a couple of these plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it was the ingredients of what you have to do if you're pulling an upset.
Give it right
and
back.
I think for Louisville, for the most part, I think that was really the only mistake and turnover they had. They forced a lot of mistakes. They put pressure on Notre Dame to go vertical. That's been Notre Dame's biggest problem, is the vertical athletes. Don't have those guys, and Louisville does. Guys like Tutu Atwell that have played there, who's tearing it up with the Rams. They've had several athletes, and that's the James kid I was telling about, that the running back, and I think they have a good. Their ones are good.
Wow.
You get into their depth, and if they face a great defensive front, that's going to cause them some problems. But overall, it's a fun team.
Yeah, wow. That Jawar Jordan kid, I mean, we'll watch this replay again.
Yep.
I mean, he was shot out of a cannon. He's shot out of a cannon. That's outstanding right there. I mean, that's big time speed. Yeah, that's 4. That looks like damn near 4.3 speed out there at running back. Just shot out of a cannon there. They've got some guys on the edge and some skill position guys. I think Brahm's done a great job kind of crafting this offense. And they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem here. They get up on Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got to answer. Louisville just never really felt like they were going to lose this football game. Look at the effort here. You got kids Superman diving. I mean, they just they play different at home, man.
Yeah, I just felt like the whole game where Notre Dame just wasn't hitting these explosive plays like with their speedy receivers, and it really just so it just killed them. Like, you got to have those guys when you play a team like Louisville.
Here's another one.
I mean, FSU played them. FSU played them last year, beat them with backup quarterback, and it's like you got to have athletes to beat them. Really good, explosive, take the top off the defense type of receivers, and Notre Dame didn't have it, and then Louisville just took advantage of it and eventually just wore them down.
17 yards.
Yeah, there it is. It's the ball game there. Ball's tipped up in the air. We're going to get a victory formation. Mario.
What's that?
Yeah, Mario. That's called a victory formation. And it was party time, man. Party time in Papa John. Well-deserved win. Great win. Louisville looked really good. They look impressive. They're going to rocket up the rankings. I think they're all the way up to 15.
Yeah, they are.
And they deserve to be up there 6-0.
I agree.
Their schedule is very soft. I will say that. I will keep reiterating that because their schedule is extremely soft. But the schedule's made. They're playing it. And they're going to be a problem going forward because I don't see too many teams on that schedule that can play with them, let alone beat them.
Yeah, and they're playing well. They do have Duke, and I think Riley Leonard will be back by the time they play them. But still, the team is playing really good. They're playing with a lot of confidence. You're playing with Braum, and there's a lot of excitement about what he's done there. Former player that played there. So a guy that knows Louisville, and once you build that trust within a coaching staff, we saw that taken off with a lot of schools. Once you build that trust and that culture, and it certainly feels like Louisville's built something special in a short term with Oliver Braum. They certainly have work to do, but they're certainly really, I think, getting into their comfort zone.
Yeah, Louisville's going to be a problem going forward. I mean, they're not quite top 10 yet, top 15, but I will not be surprised if they get up towards the top 10 in the next couple of weeks if they keep winning. Moving on, we got the number 11 team in the country, Alabama. I don't know if they're going to stay 11 very long. This is a team that I see growing ever since they made the commitment to Milroe. They look like a different ball club, and they had a big one in College Station. Here's Milroe chucking one down the field. Look at this play. They haven't been getting that type of receiver play consistently, right. And if they start getting that with Milroe's playmaking ability, they're going to be a problem, Mike.
Yeah, I thought Jermaine played a really good game, and then also the guy you'll see later is Bond, number 17 for Alabama.
Yeah,
really starting to hit some explosive plays. You see Milroe getting much more comfortable throwing in the pocket. He's sitting down in it better. That's Bond there. I think they're just really settling in with him, and that's why I said it before and I'll say it again. That's why you don't want to play two quarterbacks, coaches.
Woo.
You want to play one guy.
I will say this, Jimbo. I love Jimbo. Jimbo, I don't know who your defensive coordinator is or what's going on in that back end, but that secondary is bad.
Look at this return. This is unbelievable.
Holy moly. Look at this.
He ain't done.
Aeneas Smith.
He ain't done. He's
wow.
Down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, A&M gets up for Bama. I mean, he caught this backpedaling, fumbled it, juke, whoop, 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 whoop. I mean, he's going – how many guys touched him? I mean, I counted 4 so far. I mean, geez, Louise. Yeah.
He's spinning off guys. I can't even keep track. I can't even keep track where he is. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
What's the ceiling? What's the ceiling of this A&M team? That's another Johnson TD right there. That's pretty cool.
It is.
I know Brad's got to love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this ceiling is pretty good for them. I just think there's obviously some stuff in the problem in the back end with mix-up coverages. They get confused. People throw schemes at them that are confusing their DBs or their defense alignment. I think Max has done a great job. He certainly gave them a chance to win. Close it as much as you could, but I think the problem with that offense is it doesn't run like consistent. We saw it in the Miami game. They have lulls in their offense, and when you're playing teams like Alabama, you can't afford that. And I just don't think their back end is good enough to make up for those lulls when they just don't have the playmakers to slow it down. It's really hard to ask Max to come out there every time and answer. That's really hard.
That's a hell of a ball by Milroe here as we watch this. Bama's down 17-10. He waits, little adjustment, sidestep. Look at this ball. If Milroe's going to make throws like that, I'm going to tell you right now, Bama's going to win the SEC. If he can make throws like this, Bama's going to win the SEC, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I know we're talking about Georgia and Michigan. I've got them as my 2 top teams. It's just I don't know that Georgia got the full money with Bama. I think they got really blitzed when they were in Atlanta and Bama's receivers were healthy. And then in the rematch, in the mulligan, Bama's receivers weren't healthy and Georgia ate them up. If Bama has the vertical passing game, I think that's going to really open that game up, and doubt's going to creep into the minds of Georgia as far as if they can really stop them. Bama, when they can throw the ball, there's something else.
Yeah, not only that, they really struggled stopping running quarterbacks when they played Auburn. Like they struggled with, the guy from Michigan State. ran for 61 yards. And then Ashford, the backup, they kept switching quarterbacks at Auburn. He ran on them pretty well. So Georgia kind of struggles with these multiple dual threat quarterbacks, and that's exactly what Milroe is. Except he has the arm to do everything you want. And then we kind of see it where, like I said, you're asking Max and them to answer consistently over and over. And I think there's just lulls where they couldn't do it all the time. Here they scored late, but it just wasn't
Need to
enough.
get in there. Yeah. All right, let's see. Ends up being a Bama victory here. A&M just didn't quite have enough to finish it off. Clock's going 0 here. They just run it out. Ends up being a Bama victory, 26-20. Hostile environment. It seems like Bama's playing in them every week. They get the win there. And, in college football, it's kind of funny because every year it's like people are just waiting and hoping and praying that Bama will be out of the picture. They're waiting, they're hoping, they're praying. Truth of the matter is last year, Alabama probably would have been a better fit in the playoff than a couple of teams that were in there. That's just the truth of it. Bama's they're always there. And the question this year was, okay, well, who's their quarterback? And they played around with it. They dinked, they dunked, they messed around. They caught a loss. Now they've settled on Milroe, and he looks better. He's not a perfect passer. He's not polished, but he makes enough throws and the athleticism off the charts. I think this Bama team is going to be a problem. I don't think that they're going to lose another game, and I think they're going to go into Atlanta and be a serious problem for Georgia when they get there.
Yeah, if they get there, they will be a problem. Their defense, I think, is growing every game. They're getting a little bit better. I think certainly we've already talked about Milroe. He's been really good. Certainly lessening the turnovers of what we saw. And then we see some stuff with them developing a running game. We kind of know who was going to be the running back. We're now starting to see some explosive plays in their running game. And then now the vertical game is really starting to catch up. So, yeah, they're getting better, guys. I'm sorry to break the news to everybody, but they're still pretty good.
Yep, they absolutely are. And I think people are just going to have to they're going to kind of have to just deal with it until somebody puts that second loss on them. They're going to be a problem. Moving on, we've got Washington State and UCLA. We get this shared up here. Interesting game here. All these Pac-12 games kind of are.
Yeah.
Washington State on the road here playing UCLA. UCLA is a team that actually plays a little bit of defense, Mike. And I know most of those teams don't. UCLA is going to be a tough out for pretty much everybody because they can score. They've got a freshman that they're playing at quarterback, kid from Detroit, Dante Moore. And he's showing some promise. But defensively, UCLA is a little different than a lot of these teams. What do you think of UCLA?
They have good edge guys. They have one cat. He's I forget his full name, but he's one of their best pass rushers. Got 11 sacks already this year or last year, and then this year he's already up to 6 or 7. So their defense is very good. Obviously, they have a young quarterback with Dante Moore, so you're going to get mistakes. But as we've seen with all these Pac-12 games, teams that go on the road, they seem to struggle, even if they're higher ranked.
Look at that ball there.
Utah went into Oregon State. They lost. And then now Washington State goes into UCLA, and the Bruins put it to them. But, yeah, it's a good win for UCLA. Great win. Great defensive performance, and, just got the job done.
That's 3 turnovers we've seen right now as we're breezing through the highlights in the first half. UCLA is going to be a problem with teams because of their defense. Dante Moore is going to make mistakes, but he's also going to make a lot of plays. It's going to be interesting because you've got the USC game at the end of the year. You've got a couple other games. I know Colorado's going to play, and that should be a fun game. Right there, this is what I'm talking about with the freshman mistakes. That's the second pick 6. And Dante, we got to work on your speed, brother, because you look pretty slow there.
Well, it's kind of hard when your momentum is going against you. It's kind of hard to catch up from there. But he didn't. I agree with you that the mistakes is really what I look for in this team, and I think this team's going to give USC, UCLA. I know that's a big rivalry. I think they're going to give you some trouble, UCLA or USC. So watch out for these guys. They're not. They're a solid team defensively. So I'm going to be really tuned in for that game. I can't wait.
Here we go. We just got some wild stuff going on here. Look at the spin on that ball.
And he about picked it up. Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. Coach is
Oh, we
always
got a little flipperooski here. What we got going on here? Getting dunked and flipped. Yeah, UCLA is a different team in the Pac-12. I think they bring a little kind of crazy because I mean it's kind of like glitzy glamour LA, but they bring a little hard hat to them. A little grit.
It's more like a pro style offense when you watch them. Like when they run the stuff, it's kind of they do some motion stuff like the other ones and stuff, but their stuff's more pro style, especially with Dante. I think they feel like that fits him better. Great run finish. Got in there and got UCLA to extend the lead. So yeah, they just stayed on them, and I see a theme with a lot of these Pac-12 games is that the home team certainly has an advantage when you watch these games. We saw it in the USC game against Arizona. We've seen it with Colorado playing at home a few times, and then we've seen it with just the game at Utah against Oregon State at Oregon State. So it really feels like there's a kind of a theme building of these Pac-12 teams playing on the road.
Yeah, as you saw there, the game gets finished off kind of in a blue-collar style there. And I think that is really a microcosm of the difference between, UCLA and a lot of these teams. UCLA has an ability to kind of bang with you where a lot of these Pac-12 teams don't seem to be able to do that. And I think that's going to bode well for UCLA, much in the same light that it does with Utah, because it's a contrasting style and ability and skill set. Going to be very interesting to see how this pans out as we go along. I don't think we have a very palatable highlight for this North Carolina game, so I'm just going to talk about what happened because it was an absolute shellacking. 40-7, they pound Syracuse. Drake May goes for 442 and 3 TDs. Thoughts on North Carolina? There's really not much to talk about from Syracuse. They pounded them from start to finish. They got up 27-0 at halftime, never looked back. North Carolina.
Yeah, they look very good. I think we saw it in the beginning of the year when they beat South Carolina. Their defensive line is really improved. They get a lot of sacks. I think they had 9 sacks against South Carolina in that game. And then I think they just do a good job getting after the pass rusher, and just their team in general has built really well. And anytime you have Drake May, the probably one of the best quarterbacks that are going to come out there in the country, I think it makes things a lot easier. They also got Trez Walker back, the kid that was screwed over by the NCAA and finally got a waiver with some crazy excuse about, hey, we have new information and all that silliness, but. So hopefully Daryl Jackson gets the same kind of treatment. But anyway, that's another story. But this North Carolina team is very explosive offensively, and I think the big story of me when I watched them is their defense is much improved based on what I've saw the last few years.
Yep. So now that we talk about North Carolina, we've got to talk about the team that they're going to play next week. And
oh boy,
we're just going to go ahead and just show. So this was a sloppy game. It was bad football all the way through. Miami did not play a very clean game whatsoever. They get themselves to a position where they're up 20-17. They just ran a play on second down for some ungodly reason. I don't understand why they ran it. And then they line up here third down. Georgia Tech has no timeouts, and they're getting ready to run a play here. Mike, right here, what are you thinking? What did you turn and say to me at this point?
What are they doing? What are they doing? Because I'm like, I've never seen this done before. I have no explanation of what Mario Cristobal was thinking, except for maybe getting his running back 100 yards or something, but that's stupid. The main objective is winning. And, that the little saying, like, when you give an opening, this karma happens and stuff happens. And
Murphy's Law just jumps into the fray here.
And when you do something stupid,
here we go.
Come back to bite you.
3rd and 10, running the ball. and of course the ball's fumbled. Of course it's fumbled.
Yeah.
Because Murphy's Law, right? Because of course the ball's fumbled. All you do is take a knee there. They don't
Game's
do
over.
it.
Game's
Haynes
over.
King throws a lofted, loopy ball. Guy barely catches it, falls out of bounds. And now here we go. 10 seconds left. What's going on here? Are you kidding me?
And you know the funny part about that throw, he didn't throw a ball that good all night. Like Haynes really struggled in this game. Haynes actually a transfer from Texas A&M. So he really struggled, but that ball was perfect. He came through in the clutch, and then Miami's doing the oop-de-oop around, throwing it around 100 times, and this hardly ever works. It did work for them against Duke one year, but the chances of this working is like 1%, 2% maybe. And then eventually you guys will see George gets a little aggressive, and then bam, ball comes out, and thanks for playing. And the Miami guy throws his helmet. So there you go. That kind of sums up the emotion the Miami people. I've never seen them that distraught on the sidelines. Even the Don Chaney kid that fumbled. I know I know things what he's feeling. Just on that situation of and just really unexplainable that a coach would do something so stupid.
Let's listen to what Mario Cristobal says about the finish of this game.
And at the end of the game, a chance to put it away, and should just tell him to take a knee, take a timeout right there, recalibrate, and just take a knee. And so gave him a chance, and they took advantage of it and scored. So that simple. Questions, please. When the drive started, it was going to be at 157, and we could burn about 127 off, and then it was recalibrated. I should have taken a timeout right there at the end. Thought he could get the first down, and we talked about 2 hands on the ball, but that's not good enough. Just should have told him to take an in. That's it. Fumbled the ball at 25, and they went 75 yards in 2 plays. So no excuse. What's that? It was 3rd and 10 on that fumble play. Is that what you're saying? That you could have got the first down? Is that why you guys did it? On that play? We should have taken a knee. Okay.
I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, I've watched college football for a long time. I feel like I'm pretty familiar with it. That floored me. I'm flabbergasted. And listen, I don't really ever care to see Miami win. I'm not vested in the success of that program. But I will say this. There are some people who really live and die with that program. There are a lot of kids who still believe in that program. They recruit well. They recruit some phenomenal kids, some phenomenal athletes that everybody in the country wants. And there's some kids that turn down offers to go to places that actually have nice logistics, okay, that have facilities, that have 100-yard IPFs, that don't have locker rooms that look like airport cabins. And they sacrifice to go play for the university because they want to play for the crib. They want to put on, they want to throw up the U, and they believe in Mario Cristobal, and they believe in what this staff's trying to do, and they want to try to reincarnate some of the nostalgic history of the past, and they believe in these guys, and they turn down some of these other offers, and they get there, they bust their ass, they show improvement, and they have a coaching staff that literally steals wins from them. This was a win. Miami won the game. It was over. All they had to do was take a knee, and you've got a coaching staff that's making calls, allowing Murphy's Law to creep into the picture, and it's just devastating. I don't like to see anybody lose like that. I think it's ridiculous. And I think Mario Cristobal makes too much money. I think all the people on the staff make too much money for that. And I think, frankly, while I don't care for the Miami fan base or that university, I do think the kids deserve better. I do think the players deserve better. I think they are better than that. And I think that this is a shameful watermark moment for Miami as a program. and that coach, as a head coach, as a professional, Mario Cristobal, and I want to get your take on this, but for me, if I'm Mario Cristobal, I'm not getting in front of cameras and saying, we teach two hands on the ball. Screw that. You're supposed to take a knee. That's victory formation. You don't even allow for that to happen.
Right.
And the only thing that Mario should have said is, hey, look, guys, that's a terrible mistake on me. That loss is on me. I stole a win from my kids. I got to be better. That's all you say there. That's it. Team didn't play that great. That's fine. They played well enough to win that football game. And you go out there and you run a damn play 2 times in a row. Did it on second, did it on third. And we're looking at each other like, what the hell are you doing? All-time coaching gaffe. Miami should be undefeated still. And instead, they've got a conference loss. And now they're going into Chapel Hill to face a really good North Carolina team.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many inexplainable things of about what we just saw in the last minute from the press conference. Which press conference, if it was me, I mean, you get up there and you just say, "Look, I screwed up. I made a bad call. We lost the game because of that call because it was over. We know better and move on." But at the same time, you never should have to utter those words because that should never happen. Like that's a common sense move where you take a knee when there's no timeouts. When people run out of timeouts, you take knees, get out of there, get the win. Could have said, "Hey, I don't think we played good," but I think it was a huge fail by Mario Cristobal, and it's a huge step backwards for the program. And I've seen kids leave at different programs because of emotional situations like this, because of the leadership when you do something like that. So I feel for those kids. They deserve to win. At times they didn't deserve to win in that game, but at the moment of where they were at, where they had the ball and they got the first down, they deserved to win that game. And that staff took it away from them. That's just unacceptable in every possible way. And I just think it leads into a lot of now questions about what you're doing in the direction of where you're going when you have something like that. That's not like a little mistake where you forgot to call a timeout or something like that, or you mismanage your time with timeouts. Like this is like the game is over. Like this is, and he did this while he was at Oregon too. Like so, this is a repetitive pattern of you've got to be better and straight with your management of the game and I think the kid on the Miami team said it best. He was sitting on the sidelines crying. Matt Lee, a transfer from UCF, said, "What are we doing?" It's like when you do that, it puts doubt into where the direction's going. So yeah, it's going to be tough to answer back from that. And so I've seen a lot of college football. I've been watching it since I was 5, and I've never seen that done before. But obviously, you're going to have to fight through it somehow and try to pull together. It's going to be really hard because now the pressure's on you. You got North Carolina, then you got Clemson right after that. Later, a couple weeks after that, you got Florida State. So it's going to be really difficult for me to see them rebound from something like that. That's just really hard to recover mentally when that situation happens because, like it or not, these kids are probably going to be like, you know what? We got to make sure we're paying attention because we don't know if somebody's going to do something that's out of the ordinary, like a decision or something. So it makes you question stuff that's going on. So hopefully that for them and for the school and for those kids, because I know a lot of those kids that are there on that team. Hopefully they can pull themselves together, get it together. But that's going to be, you're asking a major challenge. They're already going to be an underdog when they win it back in the Chapel Hill, but now it's like it makes it even doubly tough when you're coming off this.
Yeah, just a tough loss all the way around. Program low there for a team that was pretty improved, and I think personally was a top 15 team.
Yeah.
But I can't keep them there or have that confidence when they played a very soft schedule. They got A&M. I thought they played great in the A&M game.
Yeah, they did.
And then now to lose to a 2-3 Georgia Tech team coming in 1-1 in the conference. And now Georgia Tech's 3-3, 2-1 in the conference. They just literally stole a win from Miami because Miami just left their wallet on the counter and walked away. I mean, that's just crazy to me. And I really want to see the turnaround game here with North Carolina on the road. I want to see what type of Miami we get there. If they go out there and they get hammered, it's going to be pretty indicative that they still got a long way to go. So Miami, unbelievable gaffe by Mario Cristobal. They drop the game. They go to 4-1 and 0-1 in ACC play. It's their first ACC game, and Mario Cristobal, apparently the seminar with Bill Belichick did not work.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, we still don't know what this team is. Like, we don't. Like, if you think about it, they played Temple, Miami, Ohio, Bethune-Cookman. All these teams they're so much better than these teams talent-wise. And they did play Texas A&M. That's one good game. But then we see this game against Georgia Tech. That's a team. And then they look – and the one thing I can say, like, that debacle at the end of the game, they played horrible in that game. Miami did not play good at all in that game overall. That's the kind of thing that's lost in this game. So it's like, what Miami team are we getting? Are we getting the team that's kind of or the team that played Texas A&M, or are we getting one at Georgia Tech? I think it's a mixture in between, that they're improved, but probably not as much as we saw when they played Texas A&M. That was probably like they were playing way above with emotion and just clicking. I think they're probably below that, certainly, and then probably not as bad as the thing we saw against Georgia Tech, because I think that's the biggest shocker to any fan. That's the last thing we thought we would see on Saturday, is Miami losing to Georgia Tech at home.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation. See if they can bounce back. Tough loss. Mario Cristobal just simply has to do better, paying him too much money to have gaffes like that. So Miami, we're going to move on now. Hopefully we see some better coaching out of you next week, because you're going to need it. North Carolina's pretty doggone good. A couple more scores here before we jump into our top five and our Heisman and wrap this up. Out west, Wyoming bests Fresno State 24-19. It's a pretty good Wyoming team. I saw them play early. I think they beat Texas Tech at home earlier in the season. They're 5-1 out in the Mountain West, probably going to win the Mountain West. Should be a fun bowl game for them. LSU plays basketball on grass again, 49-39. That LSU offense is unbelievable. That defense is not good. They beat Missouri. Missouri's out of the SEC East. I expect nothing from any SEC East team except for Georgia. Arkansas surprisingly falls to 0-3 in the SEC. Ole Miss 5-1, 2-1 in the SEC. The only loss coming to Bama. Interesting there. They did beat LSU last week in a game I know you watched. So that SEC West is looking like everybody's going to beat everybody, but it's going to come down to LSU and Alabama more than likely. And then the last game is a top 15 game with Oregon State. They took a loss when they went on the road last week, or actually a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Washington State. They lost on the road. DJ Uiagalelei has 5 TDs, 275. They get a win, 52-40 over Cal. The back end of the top 25, a lot of flux, a lot of teams moving in and out. I don't personally really see anybody in this back end. I think once you drop off to about North Carolina, the national Washington State takes a loss. They're at number 13. I think North Carolina is a team that can make noise. They're 5-0. They've got a big matchup here with Miami that they need to win.
Right.
None of these back end teams really nationally, I think, are going to be able to factor in. LSU with the 2 losses already, the blowout loss to Florida State. All LSU can do, in my opinion, is really play spoiler. Now, they're capable of doing that, but that defense is really bad. Yeah,
it is. And, there's the one thing a lot of these teams in the back end of this top 25 have is weaknesses that they've shown early in the season. So now you get to 15, you got a chance for a few of those teams to do it. And we even saw it this week with some of these teams. So, some upsets already with Miami losing and some others. So I think these are teams that it depends on the matchup and maybe where they play. As far as there being some team that's way down there that we feel like, it's going to be a top tier, like up there with the top 10 teams. I agree. I haven't seen that yet. Yep, so that's going to be the recap right there. Now that takes me to my Heisman in top 5. I'll start with my Heisman.
It's not going to change at my top spot. I've still got the magician, Caleb Williams. I don't think there's a close second. That guy's awesome. I made a comment when I was talking about Keon Coleman, a guy that at Florida State got a chance to go see him up and close, a guy that makes the game look kind of effortless. Maybe the effort wanes a little bit because it's so easy for him. At wide receiver, that's one thing, because using your athleticism. At quarterback, it's pretty impressive to see a guy who can play it so effortlessly. And Caleb can do that. He is the best player in the country, in my opinion. I don't think there's a close second. No disrespect to Michael Penix, the rest of the guys I got on this list, but it's Caleb Williams for me. I think if they do the right thing, they probably will strongly consider giving him his second in a row, because I just think he's the best player. They didn't give it to Bryce last year. I think Bryce was probably the best player last year. This year, to me, it's still Caleb Williams. After him, right now, even though he was off this week, I'm going to stay with Michael Penix, Tampa homegrown product. I think Michael Penix is putting up ridiculous numbers, and I think they're going to have their day, Washington and USC, at some point. They're going to have their day to settle that. That's 1 and 2 I've got right now. Number 3, I'm going to bump up a guy that nobody's talking about, but I think with the way Michigan's playing, he's got to get bumped up there. I think he would have won it last year had he not got hurt in the Illinois game, and that's Blake Corum. Blake Corum is the captain of this team. He's the rock, and he is really starting to bring it down. Like, he's running hard. He's finishing. I don't know how many touchdowns he's got. It's got to be close to 10 already on the year. And they're just dominant in establishing that run game. That's Michigan's identity. They have the ability to pass, but they really want to pound the ball inside and run the ball. Blake Corum has got great balance. He's got solid speed. He's finishing run. He's super tough. He's going to be the key for Michigan if they want to win a national title. And I think Blake Corum is going to really climb up this list as we go on. Looking at number 4, I'm actually going to have Jordan Travis. I think Jordan Travis right now is leading this Florida State football team. He's a leader on and off the field. He's a leader in the late games when he puts the ball cap on and starts coaching. Got to see that firsthand. The team loves him, respects him. What he's done in his career there is pretty remarkable. His name may go up on the stadium, depending on how this season finishes at some point. And I think that he's going to have his opportunities later on to really put up some gaudy stat games. Hasn't really been able to do that yet because a lot of these games have been out of hand. Except for maybe the Clemson game and the Boston College game, and they have not really taken the plastic off him yet, as we've talked about. But I think Jordan Travis is going to make a run towards the end, and I think he's already there. And I've got actually a tie for the 5th, and I know I don't normally like to do that, but J.J. McCarthy has really grown on me, and Michigan is playing phenomenal football, and J.J. the last 2 weeks has looked like a draft pick. I still have reservations to whether or not his game will be NFL ready. NFL GMs make a lot more money and they have a lot more wisdom than I do in making that decision. And they probably will still want JJ. But I can see why the last couple of weeks he has been throwing absolute BBs. And the thing that sets him apart for me is he is mobile and he's able and athletic, but he doesn't rely on it. He uses it to keep plays alive, but he's enough of a threat to where they get into the red zone, tight zone. They can absolutely use his legs. They did it twice. And he's got the confidence and the moxie to dead leg and juke guys. And he's doing it. And he's juking, second and third level guys in space, and he's scoring. So JJ's there. And I'm putting a guy that nobody's talking about for these accolades, but I'm putting Brock Bowers there, right there with JJ, because this guy is phenomenal. He is more than a safety blanket. He is a complete mismatch. He is so elite at his position, Brock Bowers. And I just think he's the best player on this Georgia team, probably second year running. And he's got to get some recognition. I can't discern between J.J. McCarthy and Brock Bowers as far as who means more to the team right now. So I'm keeping them right there neck and neck. But that's my 5 Heisman watch. Top 5, I spoiled it already. Michigan's the best football team in the country, in my opinion. And I think Georgia has shown some improvement. And I think Georgia and Michigan would be a good game. I just think Michigan has too much depth, and I think they're too well-rounded. They can run it. They can pass it. They got 3-4 tight ends they go to. Their defense is not only athletic, not only capable, but they are so fundamentally sound. It just feels like an act of Congress is needed to get a first down or a big play against Michigan. Teams are having to score crazy wonky-donk touchdowns against them. There's just no space there. I just think they're the most complete team in the country. Georgia, I have number 2 as a close second. I've got Florida State as number 3. I think Florida State's at number 3, and if they get Daryl Jackson, they may climb up and they may join Michigan and Georgia, because I think that defensive line will take another step. Daryl Jackson's a huge human being. I hope the NCAA does the right thing. Love what I'm seeing from Florida State. Got little concerns with the linebacker depth and with the safety depth, but when they're healthy, if they stay healthy, that defense, Adam Fuller's got them flying around, playing fast. Really like Florida State. Offense speaks for itself. They've got multiple backs. They can throw the ball all over the place, and they've got a Heisman guy running the show. And I think Florida State will run the table and get to the big dance. Number 4, I consistently and continue to be impressed with this Ohio State team. Beginning of the year, I didn't think they were going to be that good. I picked them to get upset this week against Maryland, and it was looking like a pretty good pick. And then Ohio State kicked in, and they showed that they're a little different. I don't think they are on Michigan's level, but I do think Ohio State is better than they were last year. I think they can bang in the paint. I think their front 7 is better. They're better on the back end. They're making more plays on the back end. I'm not impressed with McCord. He's throwing avatars out there. Those guys are ridiculous, and all he's got to do is just execute the game plan and just kind of chuck the ball up there 20 times a game. But he's not killing them either. He's taking sacks, and he's not able to get the ball out sometimes, but he's not fumbling. He's not throwing pick sixes. He's not throwing super costly turnovers, and he did play his ass off on that last drive against Notre Dame on the road in a hostile environment. I've got Ohio State as my number 4 team. Number 5, I'm going to keep USC there for now, but God, I got to tell you, Oklahoma's creeping. But I'm going to keep USC there because I just feel like Caleb is just going to figure it out, because that guy's a wizard. And that rounds out my top 5. Mike, what do you got for Heisman in top 5?
Oh, yeah. Whew. That's a lot to eat up. Yeah, I think we're very similar on the Heisman. I also have Caleb way ahead of everybody. I think he's the clear favorite right now. Now, a lot can change with that. I think number 2 for me would be that's a tough one. I think I would say Penix right now, but I think Jordan has more highlight type of games with Clemson and LSU, tougher teams, but I think Penix will get those moments. They play, let's see if I can pull it up. See on my phone, it says here, Oregon, Washington this weekend. So at Washington. So that's a marquee game for him.
Big time game.
I think the world of Michael. I know Michael personally pretty well. I think he's a hell of a quarterback, and I think I think it's clearly Caleb, but Michael, if somebody could come back, it could be him. I think they certainly have one of the top teams, and they're going to get a chance to prove it this weekend. 3, I have Jordan Travis. I still feel very strongly about that. And, the key is going to be with this Michael Penix one and Jordan Travis, if one of those teams go undefeated, we've seen that kind of ride the wave of voters when they vote for the Heisman. If there's good teams, they seem sometimes, and as you pointed out, sometimes they don't like giving the award to the same guy. So that could kind of play some dynamic into it. But clearly right now, Caleb is the best. Number 4 for me, I'm going to move him up. 1 is Marvin Harrison Jr. That guy is ridiculously freaky.
Good guy.
Like that guy, there is no answer for that guy. Like there's no answer. He's avatar. I mean, whoever needs receiver help in the NFL, if you do not select that guy, like you should be fired like yesterday. Like that guy is ridiculous. And I'm just gonna kind of enjoy the bandwagon. I was close with Blake, but I'm agree with Rico. Brock Bowers for me 5. That guy is ridiculous. I haven't seen a tight end. He reminds me a lot of same stuff that Travis Kelce does on the field. He's just so athletic after the catch, and such a problem. He's just, I mean, he is single-handedly, if you watch these early games, he is carrying them like with just big plays. So that's the guy that I love. As far as my top 5 teams, I'm not going to sway off my dudes. Michigan, I think they're number 1. I think they're the most complete, and I've went through this throughout our show of why, because you look at just about every position, they have the depth and the completeness you're looking for, whether it's winning in the trenches on offense line or defense line. They have a top-notch quarterback that can get the job done. That's kind of my question mark. What he does is going to be how far they go. So if he keeps doing what he's doing, they're going to be very tough to beat. I love their back end on defense. So that's my number one team. I think Georgia made a statement, so they're certainly number 2. And I think it's a clear-cut 1 and 2 with those two teams right now. I think the 3, 4, and 5s are a little bit behind them. I have 3 with Florida State. I think they've done everything they're supposed to do. And the scary thing with this team is if they ever just click it together for a full game of intensity and focus and locked in, they're going to be right there with those two teams. So I think FSU is certainly high up there. 4, I'm going to have Washington because that's the team I love. I'm very impressed with this team. I think they're very scary as far as what they do, both offensively, and they have a quarterback. I would pick you 4 Ohio State, but I can't pick you because I'm not totally sold on the quarterback. So I am sold on their quarterback, and then at 5 I have Ohio State. I love their defensive line. They're doing a lot of good things. They're certainly got a big win this weekend. That was a great statement win, but I just kind of need to see more from that quarterback for me to move them up there. But that's kind of my top 5 and Heisman favorites right there, guys.
Well, I think we have a little bit of contrast there. I definitely like your Washington pick, and I think looking forward to next week, just real quickly, you've got a couple good ball games. The top dogs, Georgia playing at Vanderbilt. That's a walk across. Michigan's at home versus Indiana. Ohio State at Purdue. That's usually a tricky place, but they're so much better than Purdue. Florida State's going to be home versus Syracuse. Early start. See if they stay focused. Bama has got Arkansas coming to town. They'll go 4-0. Pac-12, we got some good action. Cal at Utah. Penn State's playing Massachusetts in week 7. That's crazy. Game of the day is probably going to be Oregon at Washington. That's going to be an awesome game. That's an awesome game. A&M at Tennessee. You've got Kansas at Oklahoma State. Louisville's got a tricky road game with Pittsburgh, but Louisville's pretty good. Pittsburgh's not. We'll see. That's probably going to be a win for Louisville. Arizona at Washington State. Auburn at LSU. USC at Notre Dame. That's one to watch. Notre Dame may pull the upset there. If that happens, that could really damage USC's national championship hopes. If USC gets that one, though, we got to start talking about them a little more serious and maybe moving them up. Miami at North Carolina. We've talked at length about that one. That's going to be an identity game. Miami, can you rebound from that? North Carolina, are you for real? If you're for real, you handle this game. And you've got a potential home game in the ACC championship against, looks like Florida State at the end of the year. If you could just get over this road, this hump here. There's no Louisville, so it'll be interesting how that shakes out. Missouri and Kentucky SEC East battle. Don't think much of the SEC East, especially after Georgia. UCLA's got a game at Oregon State. That's going to sort some stuff out there, and then NC State's at Duke. So really the game is going to be the Oregon-Washington game. That's going to sort that out. And if Oregon gets that one, we're going to have to start talking about Oregon. But that's what we're looking at, week 7. Mike, it's been a doozy once again. We're right at an hour and a half because there's just too much content to give you. Looking forward to it. I'm actually going to be doing some traveling, so we're going to have to see. We might have to do some creative methods to get the content out. But great football season so far. Love what I'm seeing. I hate it for the Longhorns that they dropped the game to Oklahoma, but got to respect the Sooners, man. And we'll see. Oklahoma's going to be making a case for that top 5 too if they keep winning. So that's all we got for the night. We're signing off. This is Mike and Rico. This has been a week 6 breakdown, and we love bringing it to you, and we're going to continue to do it. God bless. You guys have a great week.